But hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Julio Chavez. I'm the Programmatic Events Manager here at Girls Who Code. And I will be leading us through a little VFairs walkthrough in just a moment before we start our panel portion of the evening. So if you're looking ahead to Friday, you're excited, maybe you're nervous, you're like, I have a lot of questions. Hopefully the walkthrough will answer most of them and get you prepared for Friday. And before we hear from some wonderful panelists on best practices and tips, getting ready for a career fair, virtual, all that good stuff. So to kind of jump in, there we go. Some light housekeeping. If you have a question, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A box. You'll click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window, and you can ask questions there. We'll be making sure to monitor that and answer as many questions as we possibly can. Closed captioning is enabled, so if you like any subtitles, please feel free to click on the live transcription, show subtitles button to turn them on. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead. All right, so we are going to dive into VFairs, which is our platform for this Friday's hiring summit. We're really super excited for all of you to be joining us, and we hope you will feel a lot more prepared for Friday after we go through this walkthrough. So the first thing I'm going to do before I dive into any exciting VFairs features, I want to take a moment to remind everyone on this call the resources that are available to you to prepare for this Friday. So by now, you have received through email an attendee guide teaching you how to navigate the VFairs platform and best practices. If you're thinking, Julio, I have no idea what you're talking about, what email, just give me one moment and I'll show you where you can access this guide in the VFairs platform. We highly recommend that you view this guide before Friday to set yourself up for success. And even if you have checked it out already, it wouldn't hurt to refresh yourself to be up to speed ahead of the event. All right. So as I just mentioned, if you have any trouble finding the attendee guide that I shared, that our team had shared, you can access it through the platform. So once you've already logged in, you will see a resources tab in your navigation bar. You're going to click on that and you'll get a drop-down menu with the VFairs guide as the first option. You'll click on that, you'll get a pop-up, and you'll get a pop-up with the option to download the guide. So again, if you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, I did not get no email, please check out the platform and it'll be there waiting for you. Right. And maybe you're thinking, Julio, I read this guide 100 times, I know it better than my best friend, and I still have questions during the event itself. So we do have an info desk. We will have links to learn more about Girls Who Code's programming and the opportunity to chat with someone from VFairs or Girls Who Code for Day of Help. So from the lobby, which is what you'll see practically as soon as you log in, is that you can click on the info desk in the middle of your screen. And once you do so, you'll see this page. So again, there will be links to learn more about our programs. Also, if you have Day of questions, you can chat with VFairs or Girls Who Code, VFairs for technical support, and Girls Who Code for hiring summit programming questions. We do encourage you to have the guide on hand and see if your answer is living there, as it may be quicker to help than waiting for someone to respond. Okay, so we are hoping for your success and an enjoyable experience. So please remember that we are here to support you above all else. So now let's talk about the exhibit hall. Be sure to click in from the lobby on your left-hand side to see all of our company booths. And you don't see it pictured here, but again, it's also in the navigation bar of the platform. So you can click through exhibit hall on the lobby itself or through the navigation button. It'll take you to the same spot. When you first log in, you will see a bird's eye view of all of our booths, and you get to choose which one to visit. We recommend you visit as many booths as you can, even with companies you may not be too familiar with. All right. I do want to say I know Logitech is the image here. Unfortunately, Logitech is not with us this go around, but I thought the picture was pretty, so I wanted to keep it for this presentation. So when you visit a company's booth, they'll have tons of information about their companies. There will be a number of links below their booth that you can choose from. That may include like career pages, their About Us page, maybe some video links about a day in the life at their company. You know, world is their oyster on what they are sharing with you. After you've done some exploring, you can chat with one of their booth representatives who are current company employees. Feel free to ask questions and learn more about what you saw from their booth. To start, you're going to click on the chat button below the booth to open a chat box. There's also a little chat widget that sort of hides in the corner of your Zoom window on the left. That is also an option to open the chat. Either one is good to go. So once the chat box is opened, you will be able to communicate with the company's booth reps. If it's not already present, please be sure to click on the Join Chat Rooms button and pick the company you're currently visiting to begin messaging. You can type in a question or even share your contact card, which will quickly share your contact information with booth representatives. Again, use this time to learn more about a company you may not be too familiar with. Keep in mind that the company chat box or that chat room is specific to the booth you are currently visiting. So if you're in the or there's no Logitech, but if you're in the Accenture booth and you're in the Accenture chat room, um, that chat is specific to that booth you're currently visiting, and no other booths will be able to see those messages, just to help reduce foot traffic and keep all the messages where they need to be. Um, Quick little note, some of our partners, not all of them, some of them may have a link, an additional link in their navigation bar that reads something along the lines of live, talk to a rep. That will bring you to a video call where company reps are just standing by answering questions on video. That may be a little bit quicker than chat. But again, not all partners are doing that. Some are, and you'll see who on the day of. So if you prefer to chat over video, that is an option for you. Okay, so I know I gave a very quick rundown of our booths, but that is not all that is happening on Friday. I'm a little biased because I'm in the auditorium, which is a lot of panels, a lot of fun, additional events going on. So please be sure to visit. But basically, also offered for all of you that are attending on Friday, we have a number of panels covering various topics, such as, how do you land that first tech job? Building your online presence through LinkedIn and other online platforms, and even getting ahead on the evolving landscape of tech. So again, from the lobby or your navigation bar, if you click on the auditorium button, you'll be brought to a page that simulates an auditorium. From there, click anywhere to be brought to the page where all our panels will be displayed. So once you've clicked in, you will be brought to a page that looks like this. Our webinars will be listed with each topic and time to know what you're logging into. Once it's time for the webinar to begin, the button that displays a countdown will change to allow you to join. These buttons will open up a Zoom webinar like you are in right now, where you'll join as an attendee. If there's a panel that you really want to check out but cannot attend for any reason, don't worry, we are recording all discussions and we'll share after the hiring summit concludes. So we hope you can join us as we'll have plenty of knowledge being shared from Girls Who Code alumni and our corporate partners on all these topics that I mentioned. All right, so we have company booth, we have panels, and you thought I was done, but no, we have roundtables during this Friday's event as well. Roundtables are video calls that are led by our partners or our alumni based on a specific topic of their choosing. These roundtables accommodate up to 40 people, so pretty intimate, and gives you the chance to be on camera and ask questions. Check the agenda button in the navigation bar for timings of these roundtable sessions. Please note that roundtable seats are first come, first serve. So once all 40 seats are claimed, you won't be able to join. From the navigation bar, click on the roundtables button and you'll see a drop-down menu. These options are in the order of the roundtable sessions throughout the day. So first round is GWC alumni led, Second round is employer led. And then the last round is GWC alumni led again. If you go into the platform tonight and you're like, Julio, I don't see the roundtable option yet, don't worry. We're just finalizing on the back end. And you should see that definitely Monday or Friday morning, day of the event. So don't fret if you don't see it tonight if you go back into the platform. Okay. So last but not least, I'm going to talk about our leaderboard. Make sure to find our leaderboard raffle information in our next email from Girls Who Code if you haven't received it already, because you can earn some points, while attending all the different events that we have going on Friday. So from attending panels to the round, or sorry, visiting booths, checking out our photo booth, etc. Um, the highest earners will be entered into a raffle to win GWC prizes. So I just want to point out the note in the bottom right corner. So points are per session. So you can earn panel, booth, and more points more than once. So if you go to all the panels, if you go to all the booths, just rack up those points and up your chances of getting a prize. Thank you, Sophia. Yes, you're going to get more topics and leaderboard images shared tomorrow. So yeah, maybe I gave you the preview as a thank you for joining tonight. Um, all right, that is my last slide. But before I hand it over to our lovely moderator for the panel, I'm going to just quickly check in with some questions. Let's see, is this one answered? I'm looking at my Slack. I see someone typing. There we go. There. Okay, got you. Ooh, I see a question in the chat. What is the scavenger hunt? So I'm actually, let me see. I feel like sharing my screen might be easier. So, okay, I'm deciding what to do here. Okay, I'm gonna, stop sharing my screen real quick. I'm gonna pull up our platform. Righty, so I'm gonna log into the platform. So I'm logging into the platform so I can show you in real time. Okay. So basically, and Sophia, keep me honest here if I'm jumping the gun, but basically, when the scavenger hunt is that, well, as you're exploring the platform, oh wait, oh okay, hold on, sorry, why isn't it showing? Give me one moment. Do y'all see a platform on your screen? Our VFairs platform? My screen sharing is says it's paused.
It looks
No,
like it's still loading, but I will say, Julio, I think the
thank
scavenger
you.
hunt is actually also one of those features that will be live on the live event. So on Friday, when you come into the venue, you will see a spinning icon of some sort in the first room that you enter. I encourage you to click it. It will help you find the hint for the following ones. And it is kind of just a way for us to introduce you to the platform in an interactive way to jump around key parts, key tabs, fun little activations, and enter you into a raffle.
Thank you, Sophia. I appreciate it. And now, yeah, thank you all for. I was like, oh, but my screen share not working. Okay, so I'll stop that then. But thank you, Sophia, for chiming in about the scavenger hunt. And I see a few questions coming in, but I also see Sophia and Adriana checking in with some answers. So let me see. Maybe I can quickly answer this panelist question. So we or there we end, Sophia. Yep, also send it to me. Oh, perfect timing. So there will be so unfortunately not. It will be a pleasantly surprised when you join in on Friday. But I can say we do have a mixture of different voices. So we have panelists from our corporate partners, from our GWC alumni, as well as a few government nonprofit representatives as well, kind of giving their perspectives on the different topics that we have at hand. Uh, so it will be a very pleasant surprise. Okay, I'm gonna set up my slides once again, and it's gonna happen this time. So I'm gonna share my screen. Right, there we go. Great. Okay, without further ado, I'm done with my time for now, but I'm happy to introduce you to your wonderful moderator for the evening. I'm going to pass it to Jesmel Delgado. And whenever you're ready, Jesmel, feel free to take it away.
Thank you so much, Julio. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jasmel Delgado. I use she and her pronouns, and I am the Director of People Operations at Girls Who Code. I'm so excited to be speaking with our guest tonight, who I will introduce in just a moment. If you have questions you would like to ask our panelists, please continue to use that Q&A box at the bottom of your window, as we will have some time for audience questions. So now let's meet our panelists. We have Adonis joining us, who is a Kansas-born and raised DEIB champion with a career that spans across industries, services, and functions. As a Kansas State University College of Business graduate with years of experience in sales leadership, territory management, talent acquisition, and DEI programming with Fortune 500 companies, Adonis currently serves as the North America recruiting lead for women's initiatives, persons with disabilities, and LGBTQ+. Throughout his career, he has led millions of dollars worth of sales, business, led the North American talent acquisition strategy, and has led diversity growth year after year for Fortune 500 powerhouses. Adonis currently resides in downtown Austin, Texas, with his dog Luna, and you can find them running around the city, at a local coffee shop, hiking, or traveling. We also have Samaya joining us, who is a senior software engineer specializing in scalable microservices and distributed systems. She is passionate about fostering diversity in the tech industry and contributing to STEM education initiatives. When not working, you can find her wrangling the 2 cats she lives with. And we also have Natalie joining us, who is a research computing analyst responsible for supporting fair and equitable access to supercomputing and data resources, and the collection of system usage information and database development to maintain a secure infrastructure of academic research networks. In the upcoming year, she will continue her coursework in astrophysics, quantum computing, and engineering ethics. Outside of work, she enjoys flying, ice climbing, and exploring new hiking trails in her new home in Colorado. So I'd love to thank you all for joining us this evening, and let's jump into our discussion. So our first question for our panelists is regarding, preparation for the hiring summit. For some folks, the hiring summit this Friday may be their first career fair or their first virtual career fair. So what should attendees do to best prepare for this day-long event?
I can kick things off. I think one of the first things to really be ready with is your resume. Ensure that it's up to date. Ensure your LinkedIn profile is also up to date, and ensure that both you have they're both shareable. I think it's also good to have a very concise elevator pitch ready. And what you would typically want to include in that is what you are doing right now, um, and what you're looking for or your professional experience.
I think that's great. And I would echo that same thing. I always tell people to figure out your intention when visiting and going into this perspective. And what I mean by that is when you're coming, either virtually connecting, is your intention to find a job, is your intention to learn, is your intention to just be present and take it all in if it's your first experience. That intention will drive what actions you would probably need to take. So having your elevator pitch is great, having your content together is great, but also an exercise that we do even within the corporate function years into a career is, what are your skill sets? So just knowing yourself, right? So what am I coming to get? What am I coming to provide? What do I know that I'm good at? What experiences do I have? And what might I be looking for? And when we talk about what might I be looking for, not even specifically role by title, but I know I'm good in this skill sets, and I know that these companies are present. So in my mind, I know that there has to be an attachment. So here's what I'm good at. Here's my elevator pitch. How might that look within your organization? And how might that be an opportunity to advance? So really becomes a fun experience or a better experience because you're going with intention rather than going just to kind of figure it out on the spot.
Definitely. I wholeheartedly agree. I would also say do your research on the companies beforehand once that list of corporate partners is released for the hiring summit. Make sure you know all of the opportunities that they have available in the summit. What exactly are they promoting? And like Adonis, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. um, um, like like you said, make sure that you know your skills and look at the opportunities, read the descriptions, and see where your skill sets match. And then when you get in those text chats in the summit, say, "Hey, I'm really interested in this role. Who can help me in this role? Who can connect me? Who can explain the details of this role, and how can I further pursue this opportunity?"
And one last thing I'll add on that, when you make a connection with the recruiter or somebody that's there, be intentional about following up with that connection, right? And so can I add you on LinkedIn, or is it possible, I know we're having a small chat today, but have a one-to-one next week? I would love to just take some time, 30-minute call conversation. And so it's okay to have initiative, even if you're not 100% sure, right? It's okay to kind of put yourself out there, have that connection, and don't be afraid to ask questions or prepare questions that you actually want to know the answer to. Oftentimes we go and we ask general questions, or we prepare a set of general questions, which is fine. But what is it that you really want to know? Is it about diversity initiatives? Is it about the likelihood of getting hired? Is it about leadership representation? Is it about location, compensation? So when we talk about intentionality, go with a plan and go with questions that you actually, when you leave, provide something to you and provide answers for you that you can then lean on to follow up. Yeah, Adonis, we met. You talked about compensation. You talked about being based on the West region. I want to dive in a little bit deeper to see what a long-term career would look like. So use that as a launching pad to sustain communication, which will ultimately help you land a position either at that firm or somewhere within that firm or company's network.
Thank you all so much for such invaluable insight. And another question we have for you all is, considering that the hiring summit is completely virtual, how would you say that a virtual career fair compares to one that is in person? What are some advantages of having a virtual event that attendees may not be aware of?
I enjoy both. I come from my side of my recruiting career when everything was in person. Virtual wasn't even a thing. And then COVID hit, and then we're in post-COVID. The great thing about virtual connects is how quickly you can connect with a great amount of people. And so casting your net extremely wide, when you're in person, you're kind of locked into some of those conversations, and it's hard to maybe break the tie. Especially, I remember my first time at a career fair, I didn't know how to start or end a conversation. So I sat there for 30 minutes. Virtually, you cast a wider net. You can connect with a lot more people, and that connection lasts. So when we talk about that virtual space, again, leverage LinkedIn, leverage setting up a follow-up call, leverage being able to navigate, leverage leaving the conversation, right? Leverage having something trackable. The thing about virtual too that I enjoy is that conversation is almost a trackable conversation. So we are almost able to pull that data and pull that or have that track somewhere. And so you don't lose touch after that first piece. You can contain that and continue that. What I will say about virtual that we must not forget is your brand is still important in a virtual environment. How you, not just how you show up, but what you ask and what you want to know and your brand and what you know about your brand is equally important in a virtual environment as it is in an in-person environment, and probably almost more important in a virtual environment because you don't have all of the other kind of situations filling the space. So I go back to intentionality and I'll say it 50 more times. Be intentional about your approach, but virtual is great, right? Cast a wide net and stay connected versus in person.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really like about having a virtual experience is that you can really get information that's storeable information, like okay, which people you've connected with. What I like to do personally is whenever I connect with somebody, I make sure that I note down their information kind of immediately, because there'll be a lot of people who are talking about their experiences, not just, corporate partners or panelists, just in general. You'll find a lot of people who you resonate with, who sound like super interesting, you would like to collaborate with, and they're sharing their LinkedIn profiles, they're sharing their contact information. And I think what I like to do is, if I see somebody who I admire, I can actually get that information very easily and then set up future conversations with them. So it's not just the hiring summit, it's just like building a better network for yourself.
Absolutely. I would even also add, as an attendee of the last season's hiring summit, I also enjoy the flexibility as well. Like when I've gone to in-person conferences in the past, it was so hard to choose between, should I stay at the career fair all day, or can I go to these panels or these other different events going on at the conference? So what I like about the virtual setting is just having the flexibility of being able to sit in on a fireside chat or like one of these amazing panels and still cast your net like into the network and still connect with recruiters at the booths or with other attendees as well. So I enjoy just having like 10 tabs going to different places in the event and making sure that I'm taking full advantage of it. And also personally for myself, I found in-person conferences, especially post-COVID, to be a little bit overwhelming, especially with the crowds of people that have gone in, and especially at the Career Expo. What I like about the virtual setting is that I'm able to close my computer after an interview or an event or after a small conversation and say, okay, I need to take 5 minutes. I need to find my space and then go back out there.
This is all such wonderful, I guess, insights. And do you all have some maybe best practices that you can share with our attendees this evening for virtual meetings and interviews?
I would say for virtual meet, just have, I think we talked about it before, and there's things in the chat, your elevator pitch or that initial introductory, have that already planned out. Practice that a few times, have it typed out that you can send it. And in that elevator pitch, it's not as daunting as it may sound, but essentially who you are, where you are, what you're doing, right? What you're looking for, what you're good at, what skills you have, and you put that into an elevator pitch very, very quickly. And then attach that to whoever you're talking to. So my name is Adonis. I'm based in downtown Austin, Texas. I'm a graduate of Kansas State University. I'm really looking to leverage my skill sets in marketing and sales and communication. I know that I'm good at leadership. I know that I'm good at this, but I want to look for a role that leverages all of these skill sets. I know at your firm, you handle marketing. I know at your firm, you have consultants and you hire entry level. I want to understand how these skill sets in this location align with what you're looking for, right? Thinking on the spot. Very quick, very concise, where I am, who I am, what my skill sets are, what my background is, I know about your company, let's then connect. And then ask questions. So the biggest thing is gain a ton of insight. My last point that I'll make is you know you better than anybody else knows you, right? You know your skill sets and what you have to offer, what you're not great at better than anyone else is. So when you're going into an interview or going into a conversation, be confident enough that you know what you're good at, right? You know you. I have no idea who you are. So come to the table and be excited to talk about the things that you know, but also be excited to talk about the things that you may not be so good at, right? And what you're doing to scale and leverage that. This is a nervous and daunting environment when you're talking to corporations, of course, but it's exciting because it's fail-proof because you know you better than we do, right? So just being confident in that aspect. And if you're not and don't have that confidence, just fake it till you make it, right? Because you know you, again, better than we do.
Yeah, those are some great points. I wanted to add that because companies and just people will be talking to a lot of people, if you have something that makes you stand out, I think that really helps. If you have clarity for what you're looking for, if you have some value for the company that resonates with you and you highlight that, I think just people who are ready to help you will remember you more. I think one part of being networking in virtual events is being memorable.
And that I would say, oh, Natalie, would you have something to add? Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to echo that sentiment. If there's something memorable, definitely that helps you stand out, definitely say it.
One thing I want to add, coming from sales and earlier of my career in training, they used to always tell us, do not leave that call without closing the sale. And so what the close of the sale means is don't end that interview, don't end that conversation with the, so next steps. So from here, or what the follow-up is. So don't leave a conversation, a connection, a one-to-one without closing the sale. And that doesn't mean that you get firm next steps, but you say, hey, I'm excited, I'm interested based on our conversation. Would you be open to having a one-to-one next week? Or when can I expect to hear from you? If I don't hear from you by that date, is it okay that I reach out? Or depending on the process. So in the back of your mind, in any interaction, don't leave without closing the sale. And that doesn't always mean I'm getting something, but it means that at least I know that this company that I'm interested in is also interested. And I have to pretty much nod to go ahead and follow up with this particular individual following the event. So it's creating, right, like we talked about, intentionality, but also a network and communication and something to look forward to rather than this is a great conversation and then you're not able to connect with that same person again, or they're not the recruiting resource. So they go back, give your information to the recruiting resource and you get lost in the sauce, right? So that piece, and always ask too in that follow-up, my last point, are you the proper, like, is this the proper connection that I would have, or would you recommend that I connect with recruiting? What is going to be the most initial process? Typically, a business rep will say, I will take this, but I will toss it over to recruiting. So just make sure that in the follow-up that you're getting who and what next. It may not be super concrete, but don't leave without closing the sale.
I love that. Love all these points. And, we started talking a little bit about it, just making that impression and networking. So would definitely love to hear from you all. We understand the importance, but like, how important is it to network during a hiring fair? And how can our candidates make those memorable impressions when they are interacting with potential employers?
I'm happy to jump in. But networking is key. I come from an industry in a space, especially in consulting, where you will see other people again. Wild enough, the former company that I worked at is now a client of the company that I work at now. And that relationship is so important to sustain. What I always used to do going into career fairs, especially virtual, is if I know, especially in this meeting, oh, there's somebody in Austin or there's somebody in my market unit, like I have their name, like let me connect with them on LinkedIn or let me try to have these conversations and bounce ideas off of each other, sharing tips and tricks where they want to go, having intentional conversation, camaraderie. They may have somebody in their network that they can share with you. Just genuine conversation that you might have. Hey, I see you're based in Austin, or hey, I see you're based in LA, or I see you're at this university or this school, would love to learn more or connect. So those one-to-ones, chats, those 30-minute conversations, those interviews of each other are not specific to company, but set that time apart to visit with individuals that you may run across in roundtables or that you may run across just in passing or in a chat function like this, right? And don't be afraid to put your LinkedIn out there, put a call to action out there to say, hey, I'm open to connecting with anyone, having conversations to help build your network. That is going to be key, especially now and the shift of the industry and the shift of the nation and how we plan to be. Staying connected is going to be and is really the only way as you look to progress your career that type of work will happen. And it's kind of fun to do if you think about it. All you do is talk about yourself. Like, you know you better than anyone else, right? So that should be super easy.
Yeah, I think those are great points. And just to add a little bit to it, I feel like when you're applying to a role, or you're connecting with somebody on a virtual career fair, there are just so many people, right? So if you have a one-to-one conversation that you think has gone well, if you have like points that you are able to bring across, your excitement that you get to the table, everybody in the career fair is going to want to help you succeed. So I think it's important to kind of leverage those connections because they want to help you. You've left a good impression, right? So I think it's very important to follow up with those connections. And because you stood out already, you stood out from the hundreds and thousands of people who have applied. So you've done the work, so just sustaining that is really important.
I also want to highlight the importance of peer-to-peer networking as well. I mean, we're all going into this hiring summit together. We're all looking for very similar employment opportunities. And I think it's so valuable to have a community right behind you. When you're going through this process, when you're making these connections with recruiters and employers. I mean, what helped me in the last hiring summit actually was being on Discord and being able to talk to other people who were also attending the hiring summit and saying, I connected with this company, with this person. You need to go check this out. They're doing like all these different things. So I think it's just nice, to have your community rally behind you, as you're finding your path to success.
I do want to recognize too, and I should have addressed this before, but in my role, I cover neurodiversity and I cover persons with disabilities. And when we talk about events like this and we talk about these very robust pipelines and networks, I often go back and I'm like, this is way too much. I'm overstimulated. I don't know what to do, where to go. I can barely pull my thoughts together in a regular day. This is just me personally. And so for folks that may be on the spectrum similarly, right, and have to have a very, very concrete plan, make it your intention. Again, that word is so important. Your intention to just connect with one additional person. Right. So if my efforts are focused on, I need to connect with one additional person, right? That's my intention. Connect with that one additional person, have a conversation, and that may be virtual. That may be in whatever way is conducive to you. But when you set your intention on that one goal, for me, the way my mind works is I can execute against that goal. And once I hit that goal, I'm able to then move forward next. So I met with one person who I'm calmed down. What can I do more? And what more can I do? Or similar to what we had talked about before, maybe I shut my computer for a little bit and take some time to recharge. But this can be an overstimulating process. This could be an overstimulating network. You're talking with a ton of people. Take your time, breathe, pace yourself, especially in an interview. Think about what you're going to say. Think about what you want to say. And one tip that I always give the folks that I interview and used to interview in my past life was, it's okay to take a beat to say, thank you for that question. Would you mind giving me a few seconds to pull my thoughts together? Nothing wrong. It doesn't show that you're incapable, inadequate. It actually shows great strength and mental ability. And so slow down, take a second in that intentionality. And if you need a second to think in that interview, ask for it. And that way you have that space. But just want to recognize that this is an overstimulating process and that there are ways to navigate. Do your best and just do one more, right? Do your best and reach for one more, and that's success as well.
Thank you, Adonis. I think that was like really important to bring up. I also wanted to say that if you do feel overwhelmed, it's okay to not go to all of the booths and not talk to every single recruiter. It would be great if you could do that. And if you can't, that's okay too. And if you feel like you're missing opportunities, what I like to do is kind of, again, just note down contact information for recruiters and then reach out to them in the next couple of days while they're still actively looking at people from the summit.
Absolutely. Thank you all. And we have one last question for our panelists before we turn over to Q&A. And that is, as we speak about, just really making the most of this experience, what information should job seekers make note of when they're visiting booths and engaging with recruiters? And also a follow-up to that, if you have any pointers on how can they use this information most effectively in the later stages of their job search?
I could jump in. First, I'll give a unique answer, and then I'll give like a cookie cutter kind of response that I still use to this day. The first unique answer, which is not a real roadmap, what do you want to know? And what is important for you to know? When I started my job search, even later on in my career, what was important to me was ways of working, compensation, not just diversity initiatives, but what that looked like in real time. So can we talk about your CSR, corporate social responsibility report? Can you yourself, as a representative of the organization, talk about your diversity initiatives across the board? What might that look like, right? So those things were important to me. When I was in college looking for roles, it was kind of like, what role, what are you going to pay me? Like, what is the role doing? Like, what is happening? And so in terms of what you should leverage from a company's information standpoint is what you want to know and what you want to gain and what's beneficial for you. So that's the unique answer. And that can be anything that is important to you, that you would need in order to accept an offer later on down the line from this organization. Now, the cookie cutter piece of it is to every company, majority of companies have either a fact sheet or a like fact website or about us website about the company. And because we're virtual, you have access to Google like the whole day. Go to their about section and just read up on the company, high level, read up. And then themes will start popping out of you. Okay, you're a global organization, you're a promote from within strategy. These are your clients. Okay, what work do you do with those clients and what might that look like? Or what's the average tenure in management and what's your recruitment strategy? You know what I mean? So it starts pulling out themes in the about that you can ask, but what's incredibly important to you may not be incredibly important to me. And so go start, think about your wants. What do you want out of a career? So make a list. This is an exercise we do with my team all the time, every quarter. Make a list of your wants. What do I want out of a career? Make a list of your needs. What do I need out of a career? Because then I need a company that gives me what I need and some of, if not most of what I want. And so that'll start crafting a little bit of the questions that you would want to ask and what you would really want to know, and have fun with it, right? But don't waste your time, because your time is valuable, asking questions that don't matter to you.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And I also think it's important to, because you have access to all of these amazing people who are working in companies you really want to be at. I think it's important to kind of keep their information or connect with them um, at a later point.
Nothing else to add here. I think Adonis summed it up perfectly.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for your insight. So we do have a couple of questions from our audience, so we'll move over to those. Remember, for everyone joining us, if you have questions you would like to ask, just drop it in that Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So the first question for our panelists, how do you deal with the heaviness of job searching?
I can jump in. It is daunting. As a person who works in tech, it's doubly daunting with the ups and downs and just the news. I think there are good days and there are bad days, and I think it's important to understand that uh, there are a lot of factors that are in play here, and you might get a lot of rejections. And that's not a reflection on your abilities or your skills and your capabilities. It's just the environment. So I think it's really important to believe in yourself right now and take your time. I would say that it is daunting. You're not alone, and it is heavy. So just acknowledge that it is a hard thing that you're going through, believe in yourself, and realize that it's not a reflection of your skill set always.
I agree with all of that 100%. Pace yourself, right? So I'm a big strategy person. So build out a strategy. You're going to have rejection, right? It's going to be hard. It may be a long road for a lot of folks. Those are facts that we can't get around, right? The thing about it, and my dad gave me this advice when I was younger, you have enough time to do what you're put here to do, right? And so that right opportunity, though it may take a little bit of fighting, you may lose time, you may lose sleep, you may lose money. The right opportunity will find its way to you in the right timing. But there are things that you can do to supplement that process to make that finding and that matching piece easier, such as connections that you make here. It may not just be the connection that you make with the recruiter or the representative, but tap into who the posting recruiter is on that role on LinkedIn. DM that recruiter on LinkedIn. Go through your network, your collegiate network. Go to your university. Figure out who's connected where. So it becomes a little bit of a game because I was in this state. I had quit my job. I had this big corporate career, was great. I was burnt out after COVID. I quit my job. I traveled 3 months with my dog. It was great. But I was ready to hop back into an industry that wasn't ready, right? Wasn't prepared. And so I went through the job search and did all of that, but I set intention as well. And I leaned on the networks that I had built and the people that I had met to help supplement and sustain. It becomes a game, a little bit of a game, right? To see who in my network can possibly help me. Don't be afraid to cold call. Don't cold call, like cold message. Don't be afraid to send out. Don't be afraid to post on LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to showcase your skill sets. The fact of the matter is it's going to be a process, and it's not always an easy process, nor is it always fun. But in the back of your mind, remember, I've got enough time to do what I was put here to do. And so in that methodology and mindset, the right opportunities finds its way to you in the right timing. But again, there's things that you can do to supplement that. And also be kind to yourself. Like, be patient with yourself. It's not a you problem. It's really not a you problem 95% of the time. That other 5%, we can have a one-to-one about that because it's a me problem 5% of the time. But be kind with yourself and make sure that you're taking care of yourself in this process, right? And so shut it out. Don't be scrolling all day. Don't be doing all of that all day. Do something that's mentally stimulating for you. Go touch grass. I learned that off of TikTok and it's been cracking me up. Like, go outside and touch grass. Go do that. But the process will engulf you if you let it. But just be kind to yourself, be gentle to yourself. It's the industry, it's not you most of the time.
And I would say in that vein, there was another question that came up. Natalie, not sure if you may have anything to add, but in speaking of, this being difficult, particularly for those that, come from a non-traditional background, like boot camp, are there any ways in which you can, any tips that you have on how they can combat imposter syndrome or, maintaining that confidence?
I'll jump in here. I'm still figuring out that myself. I'm still figuring out why what I was put here to do. I myself come from a non-traditional background, so for everyone out there who does not hold the typical computer science degree or does not hold a degree or comes from a boot camp, I completely understand. I myself do not have a degree yet. I entered the industry through internships, through networking, through so many opportunities that people have presented to me because I stepped outside of my comfort zone. I struggled with a severe case of imposter syndrome when I left college. And one of the hardest things for me to do was to go out to a conference and go to a recruiter and say, I come from a non-traditional background and I would love to hear about your opportunities and what you're able to offer somebody to my skill set. So I would say that what's been helping me combat it in the last couple of years is just to focus on my skills and what I can offer and honing in, um, on what, excuse me, sorry, losing my train of thought, what I'm good at and what can I bring to the table, and nothing else really mattered to me.
That's the story. That's the, like, Natalie, that story that you told, that makes you valuable. And I think we often forget because we're reverse matching, right? If I don't come through traditionally, there's no way. But I'll tell you, Accenture, I work for the #1 tech consulting firm on the planet, right? One thing that we look for is life experience and that non-traditional background oftentimes. So we can supplement both. What does that mean? That I'm coming in with skill sets. I'm coming in with resilience. I'm coming in being able to navigate ambiguity. I'm coming in knowing how to communicate. I had a different path, but you see, I got from here to here, right? So that confidence in that story, listen to all the skill sets. I was resilient, right? I faced imposter syndrome, but I knew that I had the skills. I knew that I was good. And so when you're talking to companies, we often forget, we as candidates forget that we're actually the prize. Like, we are the asset. Companies cannot move without people. We're a big Gen AI company, a big innovation. AI. AI can't exist without human ingenuity, right? So we still need people. We are actually the prize. Like, we are the prize here. And so when you come to the table, not cocky, but understanding that I've got something to offer that may be different, right? But it's still innovative, it's still impactful, that gets me excited. And that should get you excited to talk about all of the things that you overcame and had to loop back around or learn to get where you are. Now, also on the other end, that story is still the same going through a traditional background, right? And having the same experiences, but that story itself is a value add for any type of role, right? And so just lean on being confident in what you know you have to offer, and don't go to these events waiting for us to tell you who you are, waiting for a company to tell you, yep, you're valuable, or yep, that's accurate. Come to the table knowing that what you have is valuable, and that just makes it fun because I'm not waiting for you to make me feel valuable. I know that I'm valuable. I'm waiting to see how our value can then match up together for something greater.
I would like to add that sometimes you're not at the same level as other people are. Like, you might be starting out coding and you see a lot of people around you who've been coding for like 10 years and you get overwhelmed, but you're not at the same level as them, and that's okay. It's completely fine if you're not in the same chapter as everybody else. And what's more important than like things that you learn by actually doing them is that the things that you get to the table, like your passion, your creativity, the way you think, I think those things are very important. And just because you haven't written 500 lines of production code doesn't make you any less of an engineer than somebody who has.
I am so inspired, I have to say. And we do have one last question before we move on to our closing for the night. We've talked about it a lot, but our attendees want to know, can they connect with all of you on LinkedIn? So I will take those smiles as a yes, right? Thumbs up. Okay, wonderful. So as we are wrapping up tonight's conversation, please don't go just yet. I promise it'll only take a minute. We want to remind you all that the Girls Who Code Hiring Summit will kick off this Friday, January 26th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We cannot wait to see you all there. And our final Hiring Summit workshop on the art of follow-up is scheduled for Wednesday, January 31st from 6 to 7 Eastern Time. The registration link will be dropped in the chat. And one last thing before we go, please complete our survey. It'll help us out as we plan future events. And if you could all just join me in thanking our panelists for their time and expertise, please do so in the chat. Drop some love in the chat for all of them. And as we close, we would like to thank you all for attending. Wish you all a wonderful evening. And don't forget to complete the survey.